Hi, this is Vanessa Rogers at Team Symplify. Welcome to our training video on Symplify version 2, launched in spring 2022. Symplify is an online toolkit for speech and language therapy that can be used on any device with a web browser and an internet connection. It was created by a speech and language therapist for SLTs, education settings and families. Symplify features over 20,000 widget symbols and hundreds of linguistic search filters that you can use to create client-specific symbol lists in seconds. You can then incorporate your symbols into various interactive games, you can print them and you can generate PDFs. Symplify is useful in both face-to-face therapy and teletherapy sessions, particularly since the introduction of our new tool, Symplify Live, which is perfect for sharing games and activities remotely without needing to share your screen or give access to your account. Symplify also has an innovative 2-device gameplay mode, which is perfect for truly interactive bespoke therapy sessions. When you sign into Symplify for the first time, whether you've created a free trial account or signed up for a subscription, this is the first page that you'll see, your dashboard. Symplify is all about lists and activities. So we're going to start with the list manager. These are some of the lists that I've already saved and created. If you scroll down, you'll see our Symplify lists. These are lists that we've created which show up on everybody's account, and when you first use Symplify, that'll be all you see because obviously you haven't created any of your own lists, and they really are there to just show you a few examples of the types of things you can do with Symplify to help you have a bit of an explore, see what's available. And we've also included some lists which we think will be useful for particularly common therapy activities, things like a colourful semantics list, a syllable sorting animals list, a narrative list, and so on. If you want to use one of our Symplify lists, just click onto it and you can either immediately print and play, I'll show you in a moment how you do those things, or you can save it to your own lists, give it a new name, make changes to it to suit your particular needs. So now I'm going to show you how you make a new list. Click up here on New List, and then you've got 3 list types: regular lists and 2 types of contrast lists. Contrast lists based on error patterns for typical speech sound errors, and contrast lists based on specific phonemes for atypical speech patterns. We're going to start with a regular list. So you put your name of your list in here at the top, select regular list and click create list. You'll then see that you've got a search bar at the top if you want to just search for individual symbols, or you've got a whole range of linguistic search tools here. So we'll just do the simplest way first and just pop in a search word and we'll select the cat symbol, and you can see it's moved it over here into our sidebar. Now when you create a list, you can only add each symbol once, and you only need to add each symbol once, because if you want duplicate symbols on your printout or you want to use more than one copy of a symbol in a game, you'll find settings for that when you come to play the game or do the printing. So don't worry about adding them multiple times, it won't let you. If I click on it again, it will disappear and go back in again. So that's how you just add an individual word. And then I'm going to show you the linguistic search tools. So we'll start with semantics. So we've got a whole ream of semantic categories. So this filter box at the top can be really useful, so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of categories. So if we go for clothes, now you might just want clothes in general, that will give you all of the clothes, or you might want something more specific. So if we go back in there, go for clothes and let's select summer clothes. There you go. The next one is attributes. So let's go for things that fly. You've got a lovely range here of things that can fly. And if there's more results than can display on the page, you just need to keep clicking show more results here. I think there's lots of things that can fly in Symplify, so we won't go all the way down, but you get the idea. But let's add a few to our list. Let's have a bat, and a bee, and a budgie. Okay, the next one is grammar. Again, we've got hundreds of grammar categories. We've also got prefixes and suffixes in here. Let's go for verbs. It gives you all the verbs within Symplify. Now you can see that for lots of these categories you get hundreds and hundreds of results. So sometimes you might want to combine filters. So I'll show you that at this point. So let's say we want verbs which are linked to animals. So let's go for animal vocabulary. There you go. So it just gives you all the animal related verbs. So if I move on to the phoneme tool, you can then see how combining the filters can become really useful if you've got a client with multiple targets and you want to work on maybe a speech target and a language target at the same time. So let's put in a phoneme filter to begin with. So let's say we'll have some SPA words. There you go, so we've got all the SPA words, but let's say they're also working on plurals. So we'll go into the grammar filter and we'll put plurals, plural nouns. And again, you can see that you can break it down into more specific levels. You can do irregular plurals, you can do plurals with different specific endings, but we'll just do plurals in general. And there you go, so it's given us all the plural SPA words. So that could be really useful if you've got a client that's working on both of those things. You might want to create one activity that covers both. And you can again select whatever you like from the list. There you go. You'll see that because I did a cluster there, I just put in both of the symbols in here. Also up here you've got your word position options. So let's do SPA final. That'll give you all the, there's not many actually, all the SPA final words. And you can do up to, well, you can do tri-clusters with that as well. So you could go SPLA, go initial. There you go, that'll give you all the SPLA words. Obviously you can just put individual phonemes as well. Let's go for a medial. There you go, there's loads and loads of those. So again, you'd probably want to filter it down a bit more with some other filters, maybe just 2 syllables or maybe a specific semantic category, whatever suits you and your client. If I go back onto the phoneme tool, if you scroll down on here, so if you're using, if you're on a laptop with a touchpad, you just want to use 2 fingers to scroll up and down on there. Or obviously if you're on a touch screen, you can just drag it up and down, and you'll see that you've got all the vowels down here as well. So if you've got some vowel errors going on, that can be really useful. So let's do a oo. There you go, that's going to give you everything that's got an oo in it. Again, that's giving us lots of results. So let's say, you know, if we're just starting working on the oo sound, then we're probably just going to want 1 syllable. So I'm going to jump ahead a bit here on the filters and just show you how that can work. So there you go, that's going to give you all the oo words that are just 1 syllable. And that gives you a bit more of a manageable list. Still quite a lot there to look through, but just filters it down that bit more for you. Then here we've got a rhyme tool. So to search for a rhyme, you have to put in the word that you want. So let's go back to cat. Now it's brought up here 2 cat symbols, and you might think, well, why do I need to pick a symbol for a rhyme? The reason for that is that some of the words are heteronyms, so things like lead and lead, where you need to tell the system which of the words in the database you want it to rhyme with. Now obviously this is just 2 symbols for the same thing, but it doesn't necessarily know that. So just to make sure that you're getting the exact right rhymes that you want, you always need to select the symbol to tell it, yeah, that's the word I want, and then find your rhymes. And then there you go, that gives you all the at words. Again, that's giving us any number of syllables, so you might want to filter that down so it's a kind of exact match of 1 syllable. There you go, then that gives you all the at words that are just 1 syllable. So I'll show you what I mean about that rhyme tool with heteronyms. So we'll do the example. I said lead and lead, so there you go, so you've got lead here and then you've got lead here. So let's tell it, no, we want lead rhymes. And then it gives you words that rhyme with that. So that's why you need to do that stage. Next one is CV structure. So you could do CCV, which can be really useful, particularly for clusters. Because with the phoneme tool, you can only search for individual clusters. If you're doing, say you're doing some S cluster work, this can be really handy if you just filter through past the others. There you go, that's going to then give you all the S cluster words that are CCV. they'll all be in these results, rather than having to do slur and spurt and then each one using the phoneme tool. Actually doing it using the consonant vowel tool can be a little bit quicker sometimes. You might want to do CCV and then maybe do CCVC, so I'll show you that now. I take that one out and then do CCVC, and we'll scroll down to the S's. So we've got quite a few to work through this time. Gosh, look at all those clusters. Here we go. So you've got lots of sc words there. So let's have a scone. Is it a scone or a scone? Do you go jam first or cream first? So many questions. Let's have skate. We'll have sleep. Lovely sleeping dog. Slug. Snack. And so on. So we're getting a bit of a random list developing here. I'll just save that before we carry on. Go right back through all of our CCVC words. So again, with all those many results, you can see how it can be useful to just filter things down a little bit using various search results. And then, as I've already shown you, you've got the syllable count. Let's get some 6-syllable words just as an example. So you'll see that the text scrolls across on these ones. It's just so that whatever screen size you're on, you can see the whole word in your search results. So they won't scroll across like that for your client. That's just for you when you're searching for them. So that is the regular list builder. So I'm going to go back to our list manager, and now I will show you a contrast list. So we're going to create a new list again, and this time we're going to do the error patterns contrast list. There we go. I'm going to create a list. And you can see here you've got all the different error patterns, and you've also got down here some some contrast pairs which can be really useful for teaching English as an additional language. So if I show you L1 French, for instance, gives you here all of the minimal pairs that French English learners typically find challenging. So this can be really useful for EAL teachers and so on. And you can actually switch between your error patterns on here as well. So I'll show you a speech and language one. Let's go for fronting. So it gives you the minimal pair here. If you want all word positions, you can just select this one, or if you want to specify, you can choose here. So let's go for some medial d versus g and see what we get. There you go. So there's not a huge amount, but you just select the ones that you want, and you go add contrast. Let's go for this one, and let's do buddy and buggy. Okay, so on this example, you can see that there are 3 different symbol options. So you've got buggy as in Jeremy, and then you've got 2 different pushchair buggies. So you just pick whichever one you want, and then go add contrast, and again it adds it over here to your sidebar. If you wanted a list with a couple of different error patterns in, you could do that, or maybe you want some different fronting ones. So we've done our d, g medial. Let's see if there's any t, k medial. There we go. So this includes clusters as well, so that counts it as a medial sound. If it's not in the very initial position, then it will be included in this search. Let's go for petting and pecking. Again, so you've got a couple of options there for pecking. Let's go for beta and beaker, and we'll pick that beta. There you go. So we've got some really nice medial fronting words there, and you can see that it gives you a really nice varied array of vocabulary. So for older children, Symplify can be really useful. You know, when you're used to working with resources which have maybe a slightly younger level of vocabulary, there's a lot more available here than there might be with some other more familiar resources. So that is your error pattern list builder. Then I will show you next the phoneme list builder. Okay, so again we put in our list name, we select contrast list phonemes this time, and we go create list. So this time we've got up to 5 sounds or clusters that we can contrast against each other. So this can be great for multiple oppositions therapy if you want to do 5 different, up to 5 different sounds. Equally, if you just want to do a pair of sounds, but they're ones which you don't find in the typical contrast lists of the error pattern builder, this is the place to do it. So let's say we've got a child who's contrasting sp with d. So let's say they're doing cluster reduction, but they're backing it to a d rather than a b. So you're not going to find that in your typical pattern list, so you can just create it on here. And again, you just pick the ones that you want. Spots and dots is not a great example, is it? They're basically the same thing. Let's have spy and die. Now what I really like on here is that there are some different symbols for dice. You can have a hair die or a dice. So we'll go for that rather than the gravestone. So it's really nice to just pick the appropriate symbols for each client. Let's have spark and dark as well. Let's have spawn and dawn. So we've got some frog spawn and the dawn. Okay, so we'll save that list. So if I go back to our list manager, you can see here these are the 3 lists that I've created today, and we can go back to them, edit them, use them anytime we like. If I click onto one, it gives you a few options here, so you can edit it, you can rename it, you can print from here, and you can play games from here. You can also delete your list from here. So I'm next going to show you the activity manager. So if I just go back to our dashboard, you can access the activity manager from here or from here on the sidebar. So the hammer symbol is what you need for the activity manager. Again, these are the activities that I've saved. Also down here, you've got some Symplify activities that we give everybody access to, and we'll be adding to that over the coming weeks and months. But to create your own activities, just click up here, go to new activity, and then you can see we've got 4 different activity types, and we'll start with the card game. So to set up a card game, you just select the list that you want to use. I'm going to use my farm animals list. Then you can add boxes. Boxes are circular areas on the screen where you can drag and organise your cards. I'll do some simple ones. We'll just have one for each player's name. We'll have a boy called Joe, and a girl called Jenny, and then if you want to, you can select a background colour. We recommend using the white background if you're doing anything with colour coding, where you want to use coloured borders on your cards, because then obviously all of the colours will show up clearly. So I'll select a white background so you can see that. Now this has opened our activity runner. You'll see that here on the sidebar it's automatically switched down to this icon, which represents the activity runner. So this is the page that you see as the therapist or adult running the session. Your client will see the playground, which is found here. So if I click on the playground icon now, it automatically opens a new browser window with the game. So this is useful when you're setting up the game. Let's say you're doing it before the session without the client there, so you can do it all on one device. You don't have to run the game, do the game sort of settings on one and then play and set up the game on the other, like you used to in the old version of Symplify. You can now do it all kind of in one place on here. So you've got this tab here for your activity runner and this tab here for the playground. Now you see that there's no sidebar, there's nothing else on this page. That's so that you can completely take away any distractions for your client. If you want to, you can even go into your browser settings on Chrome, it's up here, and you can go view and hide the toolbar completely. So you've literally just got the game on your screen, which is great for kids that like to click everywhere and go all over the place. You can just hide everything else away and you've just got the game. I'll bring that back for now so we can switch between them, but in a moment I'll show you how you can use 2 devices to completely take away the additional distraction. So on your game runner, you've got all of your cards here that are in your list. Also, boy and girl have been added because they were the symbols that we used to set up the boxes. So in case you want them again, they're there, so you don't have to search for them. You've also got a search box here, so you can search the entire symbol database from within the game. So you're not restricted to just the words in your list. You've got everything there. So if we put in ice cream, so if we put in ice cream, there you go, and you can just select the one that you want and send it over. When you click send, you've got a few options, so you can decide whether you want just text, just the image, or both, and you've got lots of border colours that you can pick from. So let's go for a nice purple border on our ice cream. And then if we go over to our playground tab again, you'll see there's that card that's just jumped in, and that's the ice cream one. So you could just start like this and not have any cards on the screen and go straight into your game, depending on what the game is, what the activity is that you want to do. But if you've got an activity where you want to set up quite a lot of cards beforehand, before you meet with your client, it can be really useful to do it like this on the one device with your two tabs. So let's say we're going to do a matching pairs game. Looks like we've got some baby animals here, so let's just go for those. We'll do a baby animals pairs game. So we've got, there we go. So I'm going to send those over. Let's do those with a blue border, and I'll show you how it looks with just the image as well. So over here you can see all the cards that we've currently got in the playground, and then if I go over here, there they are. So we've got all of those, and we can drag them around. And let's say actually we don't want that ice cream one just yet, so we're going to click on that there, and you can just remove it from there. You can actually select all if you want to remove everything, and deselect all. It just puts a black line around them when they're selected on there. So for a pairs game, let's select those same symbols again. So we have the duckling, the piglet, the calf, the lamb, and the chick, and we'll send them. This time we'll give them a red border, and let's do text so you can see how that looks on its own. There you go. So this might be a matching pairs literacy activity where you've got all the cards laid out, and your client has to match the word to the picture. Obviously, if you wanted to do just regular matching pairs, you would just send the cards twice with the same setting, so all just image or all just image and text. And then to turn the cards over, you just click on them. There we go. So at this point, you might want to save your activity. So we're going to go back into our runner, scroll down here, and you've got just a save as button there, and we're going to call it baby animal literacy pairs. Okay, and save that. And then if we go into the activity manager, you will find it's here. So it's going to put it at the top of your lists, and we can load that up, and it's going to reload exactly as we set it up. There you go. So the symbols are all the right way up and all in the same place. And then at this point, you could then play the game or the activity with your client. So for the next part of the video, I'm going to split the screen so you can see how it looks on two devices. Okay, so I want you to imagine that this screen on the left is the therapist device. I've made this one narrow because generally this would be a smaller, say a mobile device, mobile phone. It can be anything you like, but that tends to be the most kind of convenient way to do it in a face-to-face session, is if you have the activity runner on your phone, and you can see that it's responsive, so it's squashed everything in so it fits onto a phone screen. And then this would be the device that your client is on, so a tablet, a laptop, a PC in school maybe. Again, it can be anything with an internet connection, but we recommend not doing the games and activities on a phone because they benefit from having a landscape screen. And even if you turn a phone into landscape, it tends to be too short, so it squashes everything up a bit much. And obviously it makes it very tiny for children to interact with. So we do recommend a bigger screen, such as a tablet, for your client. Okay, so I've realised that I've missed out the foal text card. So I'm just going to send that over. So I'm just going to select foal from our list again and send it as text. And now because that's something that I want as part of our saved game, I'm going to just hit save, There we go, activity updated. So it's now added in that file card. Now if you wanted to do something, oh, except I've missed off the coloured border, so I'm going to select that one. Let's do it again. Okay, so I've just had a look and I've realised that I've missed out the text card for foal. So I'm going to send that over now. So I'll select foal, hit send, put the red border on, and we want just text. We'll send that over. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to add that to the game. Now, because I want that to be part of our baby animals pairs game going forward, I'm going to hit save for that. So that's now updated the activity. Now, if you wanted to add something more specific to a one-off playing of the game, or something specific to one client, for instance, maybe they've got a particular baby animal at home that you don't want in the game in general. It's a bit more obscure, but you can add that in. So if you add anything in, so let's have a think. What haven't we got? Well, these are all farm animals, but let's say they've got a puppy and they want to add puppy to the game. Then you can send over. Let's have our image in blue, and then we'll grab it again to do the text card in red. There we go. So there's our puppy, and there's our puppy text. Okay, so this time I'm not going to hit save because I don't want the next time I load this game, say with another client, I don't want the puppy symbol in there. So it's just in there for this game. It won't be in there next time. So let's say we have played our pairs game. So we're just going to fast forward through this part. Okay, so now at this point, we might want to do something else within the game straight away. So we might want to generate some new vocabulary to talk about baby animals. So you might want to do a bit of sentence building about what the different baby animals have been doing. So you might want to add in some verbs. So let's go for drinking. Send that over. Now we'll go for colourful semantics colours and we'll make that yellow. And we want both for this one. So we're going to have, there it is, our image and our text. So you can see how the symbols literally fly from one device to another or from one browser window to another. Let's have eating. And then you could maybe grab some animals and you could say the duckling is, so I'm going to show you how we do a text card for some of our function words or for anything where you just want to type the text in. You just hit that text button there, type the word in. I'm going to go for no border on that one and send it over. I'm going to say duckling is drinking. And then you might get your client to think of something that they could drink, and then you can really kind of on the fly be really reactive to your client. So if they said cola, it's right there and you can grab it and send it over. So you don't have to kind of guess what your client might say. You can just go for it based on, you know, whatever they want within the session. So you can be really responsive. You also have an option at the bottom to edit the boxes. So where you've set this up with Joe and Jenny, you might want to change the boxes a different day for different clients. So you can just click on the one that you want to get rid of. Again, we'll get rid of that one. There we go, and it's automatically made the symbols bigger because they've obviously come out of the boxes. So we'll just add some new ones. Let's have one for me, and I'm going to go for my favourite food as always. And we'll have one for, let's have one for Dave. What's Dave's favourite food? It's got to be mashed potato. There we go. And you can see it's actually put those cards back into the boxes because it's put the two boxes back into position. So that can just be really useful for sort of switching between clients. You can just switch those boxes in and out. You don't have to just use the boxes for people's names. You can use them for all manner of things. I'm going to show you a few more card games now, and some of them have different examples of how you can use the boxes in different ways. So I'm going to go back to our activity manager and have a look at some of the Symplify activities. So let's just open up some of the card ones so you can see some different examples. So this one is Rhyme Bingo. So I've opened it up and I'm going to hit load there, and it will automatically load it up for you in the playground. So you can only ever have one game kind of loaded at a time. So whichever game you've got active will show in your playground on whichever device you're logged into. So on this one, you can see that I've set up a bingo pot in the middle and two sort of bingo cards, as it were, to play with. So you could say one person, so the therapist could have the OG words and the client could have that words, and you draw things from the bingo pot. You say, right, who's got frog? Let's find it. Does that rhyme with dog or cat? Okay, right, it's frog. Let's find it, put it on there, and so on, until you've covered up all your pictures. Another example card game, if we go back into the activity manager, is word mapping. So if you're doing so we've set this one up so that you've got different stations to move around on the screen to try the different words with. Now the reason that those cards were a little bit squashed up and I've just had to move them is because we're on the split screen view here. So generally, obviously the activity would be filling the whole screen, but if it's on a smaller screen, it will automatically sort of squeeze everything to fit it in. So that's just something to be mindful of, particularly if you're doing a teletherapy session where you can't see the client's screen. Just make sure that they are using full screen so that you know that they're going to be able to see everything and it's all going to be in the right proportions. Yeah, that's just something to be aware of. So the idea with this is that you would take a card from the middle and you go around and say, okay, it starts with Z, it's got 2 syllables, it rhymes with Deborah, say it in a funny voice, Deborah, and so on. And of course you can put any vocabulary you like in the middle, so we've set that up with a bunch of animals to get you started, but this could be really useful for all manner of things. So you could use it for curriculum vocabulary, you could use it with all age groups. It's really, really flexible and really varied. So you could just open this up each session and then you could go down here to your the section where it shows you the cards that are active, and you could just grab all these animal ones and get rid of them. So I'm going to remove those. It will take, there you go, it's taken all those cards away from the middle, and then you could just add in some different vocabulary for whatever's happening. So even if you were joining a client in class and there was some particular, say, scientific vocabulary that was being used and you wanted to just support them to learn and retain that vocabulary, it means you can be super reactive in doing that. So you don't necessarily have to prepare the words and the symbols beforehand. You could, let's say you're in a science lesson and the word condensation comes up, you can just grab the symbol and send it over. There we go, we've got condensation, and you can drag it around and try it on all the different stations and have a play with it, and again be really responsive to what's happening in that moment with your client and the language that's happening around them. Let me show you another card activity. So this one is for colourful semantics. There we go. So again, it's a little bit squished up because I'm on the split screen view for you, but you can see how that could work to build a sentence. So you could drag them up to the top. So you could say the girl is drinking some, put these ones out of the way, milk. And just have a play around with it and build up some different sentences. And I can move these around all over the place and make a right mess of it. And if you end up in a pickle and you think, oh, this is a pain, I don't want the cards there, you can always just scroll back down, go to load again, and just reload the game. So if you find it down here in the Simplify Activities, Colourful Semantics, load, it'll put it right back to how we had it. There you go. So I'm going to go back to my activity manager now, go back to our Simplify lists and show you some others. The final card game I want to show you is a narrative game that we've created. So this one has a box for who words, where words and when words, and we've dragged them all into the boxes for you. So there's loads in there. All manner of different types of vocabulary within those categories. So if we just scroll down here, you can see there's lots in there. So you've got lots of different characters, lots of different places, and lots of different times and seasons and so on. So you can imagine this is kind of endless, really, what you could do with this. You could do sentence building, you could do storytelling, you can be really responsive and get your client to come up with their own ideas. So they might look through the different characters and say, well, I don't want any of those, I'd like a capybara. And you can search for a capybara and you can send him in, and we'll make him orange to go with our who words. So again, you can be completely creative and responsive to your client. So I'm going to show you some of our other activity types now. So we're back in full screen view now, so I'm going to make a new activity. And if we scroll down here, you'll see our next one is auditory discrimination. So this activity type will only work with contrast lists because obviously you need sets of contrasts to do auditory discrimination. So let's do it with my set multiple oppositions list. And you've got a few options when you set up the game. You can choose whether you want just images or images and text to display on the monsters that will tell you which symbols they want to eat. And you can also put this activity into assessment mode. So in this mode, the monsters will eat either symbol. So basically, the client won't get any feedback as to whether they've got it right or wrong, which can be really useful for doing an assessment. But obviously, if you're doing a therapy session and you want them to get that feedback, you don't want that option to be selected. So we'll hit continue, and it's going to create our game session, and then we're back in the game runner. So again, it's automatically switched over here. So I'm going to go back to our split screen view now, so you can see what this game looks like. Now remember, at this point, we haven't saved the game yet, so this will be, at this stage, it will be good for just a one-off use, but if you wanted to save this activity for using several times, you can just hit save as down here and save the activity, just like we did before. So we're going to go back into split screen view now, so you can see how it looks when you're playing the game with your client. So you can see our first set of minimal contrasts is sad, dad, mad, and if I scroll down here on the game runner, you can also see those here. Now I'm going to send the sad symbol. Now in the auditory discrimination game, the symbols are sent face down. So your client obviously can't see what the symbol is to match it, so they have to listen to you. So there's no audio on Symplify. You have to provide the voice. Doing it that way means that it's not restricted to any particular accent or dialect, and it also means that you can respond to the environment that you're in. So if if a noise is made and your client misses the word, you can just say it again. We just felt it was much more straightforward than adding in sound. So we know that this is sad, so we're going to say to our client, sad, and then they have to feed it to the correct monster. Now, if at this point you scroll down again on the runner and look at your monsters here, it will show you what your client's doing. So even if you can't see the screen that they're on, you can see here what's happening. So we know this is sad, but let's try and give it to the dad monster. And he's going to close his eyes, close his mouth, say, no, that's not the one that I want. And then you can see over on the left that the sad symbol is hovering over the dad monster to show you what the client's doing. And then when they try again and get the right one, there you go. It's showing that they've got a match, it's gone to the right one. So this can be really useful if you want to keep a record of what they're doing. You can just monitor that and just take notes as you go from there. Then you might want to send another one. So let's do mad. We'll send that over. There you go. And you might want to keep going. Also, if you want to do a little sequence, so you might want to go sad, sad, dad. It will send them in the order that you sent them. So across the screen, it will go sad, sad, dad. And you can just see that down here as well. We know that these are the cards on the playground. So if you wanted to get your client to remember a little sequence, sad, sad, dad, you can get them to then feed them in order. And they'll just stay in their positions as you do that. Then when you've finished with that set of minimal contrasts, you can move on to another one. So you've got all your contrasts from your list here. So let's change it to so, do and mo. And the monsters will do a little funky dance and pop, change to new ones. You've also got an option here to change the colours of the monsters. This is a new feature that we've added on this new version of Symplify, which can be particularly useful if you are using, let's say one of the words was red, but the monster was a different colour. That could be really confusing for your client. So you can change it to a red monster to match the red symbol. Or you might want to do some colour-coded sorting activity where the colours are relevant, or you might just want your client to pick, just to give them a bit of autonomy over the session. You might want them to just pick their favourite colours. So you just click on the icon here and pick the monster colour. So let's change the so monster to be green. There you go. Yeah, and then you can just continue your game. Keep sending symbols over. Send over dough. Scroll back down so we can see what's happening. No, he doesn't want it. He does. There you can see over here, it's gone to that one and then that one. Okay, and to correspond to our contrast list builder, you can have up to 5 monsters contrasted together. If you've got word lists that have sets of 5 minimal contrasts. Obviously the most common one would be 2, so I'll just quickly show you an auditory discrimination with just regular minimal pairs. Let's do some F cluster pairs. We'll go play and auditory discrimination. There you go, so it switches straight over in the playground, and now we've got our F cluster pair with just the 2 monsters. So the next activity I'm going to show you is categories. So this again uses our Symplify monsters, but this time each one is allocated a category that shows your client the things that that monster wants to eat. So I've got a list of 2, 3 and 4 syllable animals that I'm going to use. So I've just used the search box here on my lists just to filter them down to anything with the word syllable in. So I'll grab my 2, 3 and 4 syllable ones, and then we need to create a category for each of those syllable numbers. So we're going to call the first category, call it 2, and we'll put a number 2 symbol on the monster's belly. And we're going to go choose category filter, and for this one we want syllable count. So you can use any of our linguistic filters like we did in the regular list builder to create our categories. So we're going to start with our 2 syllable one. So you want to make sure that when you're doing a category game, ideally you've used our filters to create your list, and then you know that it will correspond and the monsters will eat the things that you want them to eat. The database uses the same information for the regular list builder as it does for the category creator. So it's worth just using them together in that way. There we go. So we've got 2 syllables, 3 syllables and 4 syllables. And again, we've got those display options, and we've got the option to put it into assessment mode where the monsters will eat anything. So just like we had with the auditory discrimination, you can see here the monsters that are currently being displayed. And when we send a card over, it will appear there. I'm going to go back to split screen so you can see it in action. So that's the elephant symbol that we've sent over. I'm going to send a few more so that the client can sort them out. Got elephant, otter, gorilla. There's our capybara again. Can you tell that's one of my favourite animals? And we'll do one more. We'll do a tarantula. Sorry for the arachnophobics out there. I think they get a bad press personally. So again, if we want to, we can change our monster colours down here. Let's change him to green. We'll have some nice secondary colours. We'll make that one orange. There you go. And then your client can play the game. And what I really like about this one is, again, you've got that search box to search the whole database. So you could get your client to initially sort through the symbols that you've given them. And then, once they've done them all, you could say, can you think of an animal? And they could come up with something. Let's do another one of my obscure favourites. That is a tapir. And we'll send that over. And that's in there. And because this will sort out any words by their number of syllables, it's not specific to animals because we've just set it up so that each one just knows the number of syllables it wants to eat. Even if your client came up with something completely different, you know, if they said banana, it's still going to work. Because the monsters know if you're 3 syllables, I'll eat you. This one does. And these guys wouldn't eat it. So if we send banana again, and it's added it there to our list. So anything that you add in during the game will be added to your list here. It won't be on the saved version of your list or of the game unless you save it at this point when you've added it in. It's just for this particular time of playing the game. So if we try and give that to one of these other guys, no, he doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. There you go. So if I go into our activity manager and just show you some of the Symplify activities that we've created with the categories game. There's a few examples here. So we've got sorting by colour, things that are red, white and blue. There you go, and we've got loads of red, white and blue pictures. Send those over. And obviously exactly the same concept. That's for that one. That's for that one. That's for that one. Okay. And let's get back to the activity manager, back to some of our Symplify ones. So really these Symplify activities are just examples to give you an idea of the sorts of things that you could do. This one's by semantic categories, food, transport and animals. So this is a really popular language activity that we do all the time, don't we, with posting boxes and physical cards. So it just brings that onto the screen really. So yeah, you can see that there's lots of different ways that you can use the categories activity to create all manner of activities. You can use phonology as well, so you could sort by initial sound, you could sort by rhyme. Anything that's in our linguistic categories you can do. So the final activity type to show you is naming. So this is for, as the name suggests, anything that requires your client to do naming. So whether it be core vocabulary therapy, minimal contrast therapies, expressive vocabulary work, expressive grammar work, learning English as an additional language, it can be really useful for that too. So we'll create an activity and I'm going to use my CV animals, consonant vowel animals list for this one. Now I'm going to just go select all because I want to work on all of these words. If you were doing, let's say you were doing core vocabulary therapy and you had a big list of say 100 words and you wanted to do 10 per session or 5 per session, you can just pick the ones from your list that you want to do that time and it will just keep cycling through those words. So if you want to do lots of exposure to a small number of words, you can do it that way, or you can have a big list and select them all like I've done here. Again, you've got some display options here, depending on what you want the gate to display. And then you've got, again, your assessment mode if you want it. Okay, here we are. So this is your client view. And all they have to do is hit the go button and zip along the road until they come to a gate. and the gate tells them what they need. So this is where the two device mode really comes into its own, because the client has to work collaboratively with you in order to complete the game. So rather than them just interacting essentially with the tablet and you sitting alongside that activity, you are a core part of it, because on your device you've got the words that they need. So it becomes so much more interactive and brings it back to being a connection between therapist and client, with the devices as a tool within that, rather than it being a connection between the client and the device. So the first one that they've got here is sow, bit of an unusual word. So they would ask you for sow, you would send it over. Again, you've got all your options here. We've tried to make everything as consistent across the games as we can with the settings and options. And then all your client has to do is drag it up till it matches, and then it disappears and the gate opens and they can whiz on through. And as they go through the game, you'll see that they go into different environments and climates. So they're coming out of the desert and into a muddy autumnal land. And then after that, we've got a bit more autumn. So it just generates them randomly. So I'll just scroll down here so you can see what happens. Sorry, let me just send that symbol. And we can send a few. So if you're not in two device mode, you could send, if you're not on two devices, you could send all of the words and your client just names them as they go. But that does then remove that kind of back and forth conversational element. So we would say it's ideal to have two devices if you can, but obviously that's not always practical. So this would be the way to do it. Would be to just set it up at the start, send all the words over in one browser window, and then play the game in another browser window and just leave that one open to play the game. So I'm just going to scroll down now to here. So like we had with the monsters, this time you've got the gate here, and again it will show you what's happening. So if you can't see the client's screen, you can see that, okay, they've tried ball, that hasn't worked, they've tried ray, and then it immediately switches to show you what the next one is. So you know that they're working towards B. So you might want to be modelling the word to them while they're driving along, if they're just getting started with it maybe. So it kind of gives you that little sneak preview of what's coming, which can be quite handy. There we go. Where are we next? Back in the desert. Back in the desert. Okay. So again, you can use any of your lists for this game. The options are really endless. Just get creative with it and see how you can apply it to different clients and different targets. So that's all of the activity types. So I'm now going to show you how you can use Symplify Live to use Symplify during teletherapy without needing to share your screen or give control of your device to your client. So Symplify Live generates a code that your client can put into a website to give them access to just the game. It doesn't give them access to anything else on your Symplify account, and it doesn't give them access to your computer. So it's super secure and super straightforward. And I'm going to show you how we do it. So we've got our game up and running here. We've got our cards laid out and we've got our runner. If you scroll down on the runner and hit go live, it brings up a live code for you. So your client just has to go to simplify.live. So it's not .co.uk, it's just .live, and pop in that code. So I'm just going to copy and paste that code. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate Symplify Live in Safari. So I've opened up a Safari window here to show you. This is because I can't show you in Chrome because I'm obviously logged into my Symplify account in Chrome, and the whole point of Symplify Live is it's for using without a login. So I'm showing it to you over here. So if you get your client to go to simplify.live and then you give them the code and they pop it in here and they can join the activity. It might just take a moment to load up. And then there's their game. So that's all they can access. So if they then tried to go onto a different part of Symplify by typing in the URL or whatever, it wouldn't let them. It would just take them back to that screen to put the code in. So that's all you can see on Symplify Live is just the game. And they can play the game exactly as you would normally. And if we go back to our device, so we're imagining that this is, say, in our client's house. This is our device. Obviously, we've got our runner. And if I go over here, look, you can see that they're the cards that the client's turned over. And if I you can do it either way. So we could move something and then the client can see what's happened. We'll do it that way. And there you go. So finally, I'm going to show you our print tool. Although our ethos is all about reducing paper and plastic waste, that's why we say see you later laminator, we know that sometimes you do want physical resources, you do want to print things. Also you might want to generate a PDF of your symbols to share with your clients, with their families, with their caregivers, their education settings and so on. So if you go onto the list manager, select the list that you want to work with. I'm going to select my animals list. You'll see here you've got a print button, so go into there. And then this shows you the different layout options. So at the moment we've got 2x3 selected. You can change to 1x2 if you just want 2 symbols per page, right down to 5x6. You can adjust the text position to have it at the top or the bottom, or you can switch off the text if you just want the symbols. And then you'll see on each symbol you've got a little menu button here where you can edit the text. So we could change ape to gorilla, for instance. You can duplicate a symbol. So if you want to print the same one several times, you can just duplicate it. And you can also remove a symbol. Now, as you can see here, it says it won't delete it from your list. So it will just delete it from this instance of printing your list. So when you go back to work with your list, any that you take off at this point will still be there. So you choose all of your print settings, hit Save as PDF, and it will generate a PDF for you that you can then open up. And there you go. You can then save that to your device, you can print it, you can email it, whatever you want to do with it. As simple as that. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Hopefully that's been helpful. Please do get in touch if you've got any questions at all. You can email me on vanessa@simplify.co.uk, or you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter @SimplifyApp. Also Instagram is @SimplifyApp. You can join our Facebook group, which is a brilliant place to chat to other people that use Symplify. You can share therapy ideas, you can talk about any kind of technical issues you have with things like IT, security and access and things like that. There's lots of things like that that get discussed on there. That's called Symplify Ideas, and if you just search Facebook groups for that, you'll find Symplify Ideas on there. Obviously this is our YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe if you can, that would be great. And that's it from me. So happy simplifying. See you later, Laminator.